Hello, everyone, and welcome to the back nine of round number one of our 2023 Sun King Throwdown the Mountain 11, presented by Discraft. Trey Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside Nate Perkins, as we're here on our feature card for day number one. McBeth, McCray, Perkins, along with Goodpasture. Friday afternoon in Florida. I don't know what more we could ask for. Maybe a few more birdies, but I don't know what more we could ask for here, Nate.
Yeah, just a few more birdies, Terry. That's about it. No chance I was going to miss this tournament. I love Florida in general, and I love this property. Again, just an hour north of Tampa Bay, about an hour south of the heart of all the freshwater springs here in Florida. So on my way down, always remember to take a dip, reset the body and the mind, and I just love the lay of the land here. I mean, all these oak trees and cypress trees by the water with the Spanish moss hanging down from the limbs. It's a really cool setting for disc golf.
Definitely magical, and it's going to continue being just that. As we know, Paul McBeth and Dylan Cease had recently purchased the property, actually, and that just made news within the last week. Yeah, and this tee shot, you're really just trying to throw it essentially straight and maybe have a little bit of finish to it to set yourself up to maybe get to the corner to start then climbing the hill.
Yeah, this is a really tough tee shot to get in the right spot, and Paul's actually going heat there. Skips up, and it's so flippy it starts to turn over even after the skip, and you can see. And we're just having a good chat about how cool that skip shot with the heat was, and it's just really hard to not have a scramble approach here on 10. Johnny threw a pretty good shot, a little bit too straight, and his really tough footing.
You see him kind of wrestling with where he's going to put his plant foot, and he loves it.
You can actually hear him snickering about the shot, and he's just having a good time out here. And, I mean, we're all so thankful to, still have Johnny with us. He did have a heart attack, nearly fatal, and, yeah, I'm just so thankful that we're getting to watch him play disc and play it at a high level still.
Yeah, the fact that he's made the recovery he has and has come back as such a warrior and competitor, and the spirit that he is out here. And he was actually just out here winning the MP50 division a few weekends ago. He took that down, and now here he is putting up the hottest score on the front nine in our MPO division, just proving that his skills transcend all ages, dates, weekends, time frames, decades. It doesn't matter.
So the first tournament that I ever watched was 2014 Texas States in Round Rock. And it was Paul McBeth, Simon Lizotte, Ricky Wysocki, and JohnE McCray.
Yeah, and to think that was, nearly 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now here he is out here hanging and beating most of the field at the moment. He seems to have his putter on lock today. And the few that haven't gone in have been right there. And it's just incredible.
Yeah. A couple of really nice back-to-back putts for birdie. It'll ease the tension just a bit.
Yeah, Charlie been hovering around par, and it took him a while to get his first birdie. I believe that was back on hole 7. And now he's gotten, like you said, 7, but then also got 9 and 10. So a little bit of a roll for him.
And I'm taking the lone par on this hole.
They kind of joke about messing up the star frame. Is that something you actually think about? It's easy for outsiders maybe to say this, Johnny. Trying to get a little crafty there.
Oh, you know when you're the only person to par on the hole. In hole 11, I mean, we are throwing down the mountain here. This is about as much elevation as you're ever going to have in Florida. And, they say par 4, it's really a difficult par 3. and we're flying through one of the lake gaps here, and you want to get the driver up to speed and flip it pretty late in the flight. So it can be pretty touchy. Depending on how fast you're able to throw the disc, you can throw more and more stable. Otherwise, it's a really touchy shot with a flippy disc. And Johnny is going kind of a medium stability rive here, and you can see he gets this thing up to speed, gets it to drift late in the flight. It was getting some late stability, but catches one of the Guardians, and that's still a really good shot.
Yeah, we heard him calling for it to hook up at the end, and McBeth steps up, trying to just line up the exact lane he wants to take here.
So this is his kind of flippy force.
Just on a rope as McBeth is going to put it to 8 feet. What a shot. Now, from the tee, I mean, as parked as that is, from the tee, do you guys realize just how close that is? Or is it too protected?
We could see it the entire flight. It was just one of those shots that you marvel at and that you won't ever forget, you know?
599 feet. Now, as you said, this is the easiest hole on the course relative to par. We see it playing at 3.47, so it's certainly a soft par 4. However, it also isn't really a par 3 when it's averaging 3.47, right?
Yeah, you know that with a 4 you're losing strokes, and now we know with a 3 we're losing strokes. So it's all about perspective, and you know I'm obviously having it's just a terrible round, but the moment isn't lost on me that, you know, I'm playing with 3 great golfers, and you know, obviously playing with one of the best disc golfers all time, and it's still a great place to be, and feel fortunate to be here on this card and watching shots like that, parking a hole from 600 feet away.
And as of right now, and as you say, of course, one of the best disc golfers, we really could say 2 of the greatest of all time, in when you put McCray in that category as well. Over 500 events played, and he is hunting now his 200th career win. And I don't have the stats in front of me as to how many people have 200, but I know it's a very short list as he taps in with his turbo putt, and McBeth, the eagle. And McCray is going to be right there as one of the biggest cheerleaders for it. We love to see the good golf. And that knots them both up at 6 under through 11. And it looks like we're having quite a battle here with our 2 Florida residents as we head over to a brand new hole number 12 that's much more difficult this year.
Yeah, this is a challenging par 4. This platform right there is the ideal landing zone. Really tough to get there, and you do not want to be straight or left. Paul's surprisingly going forehand off the tee a little early.
And when you say surprising, is that because you feel like that pushes too hard to the right?
No, I like the forehand. I just would kind of expect him to just shape something with the backhand with something flippy. But I do like the play. I was just kind of expecting him to send one down the fairway, almost with that same flippy force that he just threw. And Johnny dials that turnover up beautifully. I believe that's a Saint that he's throwing. And he's in the ideal landing zone.
And I'm seeing the brace on your arm. Have you added that in the last few holes, or have I just missed that in the first 10 holes we've been watching golf?
No, I've had it on. It's just a little compression to, you know, help with just a little bit of pain in the elbow from throwing so many forehands over the years. I've been working on strength in the supporting muscles of the elbow for a few years now, and so I'm not really feeling too much pain, but it's kind of just precaution and kind of a comfort.
It's only taken me 11 holes to notice it. So apparently it's certainly part of what you've got going on. And that flashes past the basket.
Yeah.
And you can be aggressive here on this approach, right?
Mhm.
Because you have that back, cliffside almost directly behind the basket or next to the basket. I feel like we could see some aggressive runs if you're in position.
Yeah, totally. I actually almost rang that one up for eagle, and yeah, we're in that wall marks the edge of the quarry here, and the furthest putt you can really have is like 25 feet up against the rocks. Johnny going jump shot there.
Yeah, I think just trying to avoid having to throw the forehand, and you see how limiting that was in that case. But now he's going to step up with a standstill, and looks like he is going to go with the forehand just to pitch it out. And he's got a little work left to do here.
So after Paul's slight misfire with the buzz, he's 90 feet out.
Oh, and grabbing some chain, but not quite enough to pull it in.
It looks so good. And great looking shot from Charlie to get to here. This would be an impressive up and down.
Johnny's gone to almost circle's edge, it looks like. Doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah, really nice putt. Great save. Kind of tricky footing with the limestone, just moving some rocks around, still not quite balanced, but again, this is like 20 feet. You should never even be second guessing these, and I just feel completely lost on the putting green at this point. I've 3-putt a few times in the round, and it's unfortunate because, I work hard off the course, and I'm throwing better shots than I ever have, and I'm feeling great, and then I can't seem to get comfortable, but it's a process, so we're not even going to dwell on it, and we'll keep moving forward because my best golf is still ahead of me.
Well, and I'll say it myself, though, that certainly commendable on your demeanor out there. It's easy to get really frustrated, and, you see people start to throw some fits and have outbursts and everything else, and I see you kind of reassessing and taking another look at it, but the fact that you're maintaining this very mild temper and containing everything within as to not distract anyone else should be noted, because I feel like we have way too many people that immediately then distract the rest of the card and even other cards around them sometimes with the outburst. So I'll certainly commend you on that, even though you're having the rough round.
Appreciate that, Terry. And this is such a great par 4. This sequence of holes right here is what makes this course so memorable. This tee shot is like 25 feet wide. We're teeing up the hill. You're headed straight for the sawgrass, so you don't want to throw this one too straight. You also have the mandatory on that left side, so you can't just hyzer this one through the gap. You have to straighten it out toward the sawgrass and check up just as Paul just did. And early out of the hand from Charlie, and that's a really bad spot.
Yeah, you need to at least get up onto this platform, as we saw from McBeth. This gets up onto the platform, but then, like you said, it can't just hyzer out, and it really looks like an OB line that's technically kind of an extension of the Mando that's out there. And so, by definition, he's missed a Mando being over in the we'll say, restricted space or zone, as the PDGA rules call it. But you have to get on the platform. And you also, with an early release,
Yeah.
that's going to put you on this left side. And this is just a world of hurt, because you not only did you not gain a lot of distance, you're kind of blindly throwing up to an area, and you still have a Mando to worry about in a few hundred feet.
Oh, it's just a terrible lie.
But
Headed for the sawgrass.
good thing you did check up a few feet short of it. 5 more feet, and you are hating life.
Yeah. Charlie just going to pitch out as well.
And you see the tee pad right there. That's essentially where you guys teed from last year. Everything that you were, we just saw a moment ago was all underwater last year.
Yeah.
So this was a very abbreviated hole in 2022's version. So you're playing essentially a new tee that really makes this the par 5 that it is. Last year it played as a par 4 with a few hundred feet of distance cut off. And now here you are throwing your third.
Yeah, kind of stuck in between some shot options, and everything out left is open. Really hoping to get that forehand roller to stay on cut, but it's very manageable up and down from out there on the left side. And Johnny, we had a little chat about this one. We weren't sure about whether it was OB or the line of the mandatory, and this shot right here, Terry, is just classic JohnE McCray. I mean, full commit with a driver through a gap, and he actually has a chance to birdie. A penalty birdie I don't think has ever been done on this hole.
No, and we came in a little bit late. He was ready to go already. That was McBeth throwing his shot. He was hardly had waited, I feel like, for McCray's a provisional shot to land. So now he's essentially calling another provisional, or you guys are just uncertain how it gets played. So at this point, he's now going to the drop zone and playing it from there. And we'll eventually see how things shake out. And you're off to the left side, but like you said, there's a lot of space over here.
Yeah, just have to throw a little forehand around a couple of pine trees and just straighten it out. Not the release I was looking for. Definitely feeling frustrated.
It's easy to get confused, but this is the one he had thrown from the drop zone. So that was that shot. He's going to play them both out and then get a confirmation at the end of the round. And that's really the teachable moment for everybody at home, right? Is if you're uncertain about a ruling and you don't know how it's played, call a provisional, play it out both scenarios, and then at the end of the round, get the tournament director involved, explain what has gone down, and then they will make the official call or determination.
Yeah, that one came out of Paul's hand a little weird. He was trying to dial that one in, and he pulled out a Tallahassee last weekend because he was dealing with kind of splitting on his finger, his pointer finger and his middle finger. The tips were the skin was both splitting, and he actually got a splinter in the center of his hand that kind of affected that throw. So, and almost dialed that one in from 55 feet for the par, but I'm going to be taking another bogey. And Johnny,
you get a provisional and you get a provisional. Oprah out there just handing them out, but he's just making sure that, again, as he continues to play it all out, he doesn't have to keep calling those. But and here's ultimately the takeaway. Regardless how it gets decided at the end of this round, in this unique instance, the scores were the same either way. Both ways he played it, he was taking the 5. So it ultimately wasn't going to matter, but it's certainly good to know the rules for future scenarios.
Okay, so we got a little bit of a climb to 14's tee.
Again, big shout out to our friends over at Swarm. They can help you out. SEO, any of your search engine optimization, along with all of your website needs. It's awesome that they support disc golfers and they're supporting the channel, and you should make sure you reach out. There's a link in the description of the video, and Here we are on hole number 14, the par 5, and this is just a monster.
Yeah, I would say that this is the signature hole in the entire state of Florida. 1,000-footer. This tee shot is very important. Significantly downhill. Not a lot of room from left to right to work with, and Paul dials up a beauty right there.
Yeah, and to say how difficult this hole is, it's actually for some of the other weekends, it's 2 separate holes. So this is a combined hole when you come out here on the 4th and final weekend. But if you were out here earlier in the last month, you may have seen this play as 2 separate holes, which tells you just how difficult it really is if it's normally 2 holes.
Yeah, one of the features of this hole is that you can actually see the basket. You're almost eye level with the basket. I'd say it's just a bit lower than we are in the tee. And you often can see 2 other groups playing it. One on the green and then one in the middle of the fairway. And I'm actually throwing a Kahoo here from RPM Discs, kind of their flippy distance driver, and I just love it. I can kind of go down tempo on it and still get it to flip late in the flight, and I'm really happy with that tee shot.
I was just going to say, you couldn't have placed it really in a better spot, and we see McCray is off to the left side, so he's not giving this full power, and just making sure he plays for position. So crucial to keep it in the fairway here. And Charlie wasn't thrilled with the low release, but it also turned out in a perfectly fine position.
No, and Charlie just getting over on top of that one, and he's headed straight for the sawgrass. It was a good tee shot, but this is somewhat tricky spot to be in. For me, I'm right in between throwing a power forehand or just throwing a straight backhand to stay in the fairway. And I actually got on top of this cloud breaker, exactly what I was looking for. Very happy with that result. And Paul waited for the green to clear on this one, actually.
Of course he did.
Up on the toes, puts the pace on that force, and he's in a perfect spot. He's really in stride right now.
Yeah, and I was just going to ask, do you feel like there's a time where he's a little more aggressive? Do you think he's, thinking about getting there in 2 and having that eagle bid?
Yeah, I think after his drive, he was right in between going for it and not, and with the way that he got on top of it, I think he was just giving himself a chance because he can make it from 100 feet with his jump putt. So
Don't you worry about my situation, all right? I made this bed. I get to sleep in it.
One pants like Charlie. I don't think that's a hashtag, but looks like he's prepped himself to have his windbreaker pants for this exact scenario. Is that what I'm gathering here?
I think so, Terry. I haven't seen anybody pull that move, but I don't hate it. I mean, this sawgrass can be brutal.
Yeah. I've heard of people losing their pants during a round if they're having a good time out there, or maybe a bad time. But to add one leg there as he's going to pitch out, looks like it'll work.
This approach it looks straightforward, but it's pretty tricky because there's sawgrass left and right, and the pin is actually back down in this little pocket. You can see it heads back down the hill, and that's a really nice shot. So it's tough to have a clean putt here on 14.
Yeah, this is a newer pin, and we don't typically see it in this exact location. Usually it's a little bit closer, more on top of the hill, and to have it tucked back, is what pushes it a little over 1,000 feet. Normally it's a little shorter, but having it elevated makes it great because you can still see it, even though it's up and over the ridge.
So Jen was actually telling me, he said, I wish I was taller. But Jen was actually telling me that after the heart attack that Johnny couldn't really throw any turbos, and you can see him here kind of trying to stretch it out. He's got a lot of pain in the shoulder. So we were actually surprised to see him bust this one out.
Yeah, clearly the signature patented move by McCray is the turbo. Oh, and almost gets it to drop, almost gets it to pay off. What a shot. That's a solid putt. Going to pick up a birdie here on hole 14.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why he can't make the other ones.
I was just thinking you made that look relatively easy. I mean, a couple of perfect drives and then a solid putt.
Yeah, it feels really good to get a birdie here on 14. You know, regardless of how the round is going, it's always nice to birdie a hole that you love, and you know, I'll remember that one.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it played at 5.42, you know, so almost a stroke and a half over par.
You can't even like stick your hand and throw your frisbee out yourself. It's like the worst. Come on.
Played a stroke and a half over par, and you walk away with a 4. So definitely picking up strokes on the field there. And McBeth will tap in with the easy birdie, bag on the shoulders, and you guys will make your way up to hole 15, where there's inevitably going to be a little bit of a backup, and usually a good time for some beef jerky.
I'm Garrett Girthy. People know me as Double G. I've been making Double G craft jerky since I was 16 years old.
I'm always a snacker, so about halfway through, I always find myself reaching for that bag of Double G jerky.
My favorite has got to be the garlic lover's dream. You just can't go wrong with garlic and beef jerky.
That middle of the round, you get into that slump. I'm going to reach for that Double G craft jerky to help me finish strong.
So most of you can't throw like Double G, but if you get his craft jerky, you can certainly eat like him. Go out and get some Double G craft jerky.
You can find Double G craft jerky at doublegjerky.com.
I'm not going to lie, missing a little Double G. Being in Florida and not having him here, of course, I know the tour is taking us all over the place, but missing some Double G in Florida this weekend as we're on 15. Just a absolutely gorgeous hole.
Yeah, no doubt. Where is Garrett and Jess?
They're probably taking a weekend off. As we know, most of the Pro Tour competitors, 2 or 3 straight weekends weekends straight in Texas. And this weekend, I'm sure some of our players just kind of relaxing as they gear up for Music City next weekend. And McBeth opting for the turnover.
And just look how, relaxed he is in the upper body, just upright and just puts the touch on that flippy fairway and just nestles it in the perfect location.
Yeah, if you were going to say, hey, give me about 15 or 20 feet of anywhere you want to place it on this fairway, you'd probably put it right about there.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is a tough tee shot. It's tough. You're throwing the turnover, and if you don't get it turned over enough, you end up where Johnny is, which is, it's hard to get up and down for par from in there. And Charlie making the same mistake, and I went with the forehand and just threw it low. It's a very specific landing zone. And this is a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, you're a full 75, maybe even 100 feet short of where McBeth is. So you're just trying to get up and around the bend to set yourself up for what would then be the par. And we're going to see the roller coming out.
Yeah, I was very pleased with that hyzer. It could go south quick in a good position. And Charlie sets himself up for a turnover into the green to try and save his par.
You see McCray also with a little bit of a stretch there before he goes with the forehand. And that should put him in position. Again, you have to get around the bend. And I feel like there's so many holes on this course you say that about, right? Like hole number 3, for instance, hole number 5. If you're not making a corner and you're cutting anything off short, you're always just going to waste a stroke getting into position on the next throw.
No, just a terrible roll for Charlie after a pretty good forehand, a little short, but yeah, that's an unfortunate roll. It actually went straight for that out of bounds line, stopped just short of it. And after a perfect drive, Paul's going captain's Raptor into the green. And just a beauty.
Yeah, I was going to say textbook. I mean,
Yeah.
perfect drive, easy approach. You'll have a tap-in birdie. And another forehand. So after I questioned not seeing a lot of forehands earlier, now McCray seemingly warming up and getting more comfortable with them here.
Yeah, I mean, the last one, you could see it kind of, he winced in pain right after he threw it, and I don't think this one actually hurt him, but nice toss from him.
And what are you throwing for an approach there? It's a little bit long, but what's the approach disc?
Yeah, that's still a tactic. I'm still working in the trying to find a replacement for that slot. You know, it's an important slot, and I've been throwing the Kia from RPM, kind of a beaded overstable approach disc, and I believe Clash is working on that slot right now. And that's just 18-footer that never got above the rim. And there's just not a drop of wind, and it really should just be a tap in.
Yeah, and the putts you have connected on look so solid. They look dialed. And then, you know, so I think everyone that knows your game and knows how you play and obviously your skill set is just somewhat surprised. And maybe you're even a little surprised yourself at this point, just trying to find a way to reset and stay in the moment.
Yeah, I think it can get, as Paul taps in, just a textbook birdie there, and unfortunate bogey for Charlie after that roll. And, you know, I think at a certain point in the round when it's not going your way, it can be harder to stay focused, which is not the ideal attitude, but it is how it is, just as it's, you know, if you're racking up a bunch of birdies, it seems like it's easy, and it kind of snowballs in both directions. So, hole 16, only 50 meters here. Really touchy shot. Hard to get this one to check up on the hill. You don't want to go too deep, but you really don't want to hit the hill short either.
No, I know. For only being 163 feet, there's definitely some finesse to this, and Paul seems to have exactly that. I'm surprised to see, you know, the little forehand fluff at it, as opposed to some kind of backhand coming into the hillside, or just trying to hover it and land it, and that. McCray shooting it dead so that it stays on the hillside for him. But I'm surprised to see that forehand out of McBeth. But you're lining up the same.
Yeah.
Break it down. Why?
Well, I think it's easier to control the pace of it, and I don't mind hitting the hillside with the nose up on a forehand. I think hitting the hillside with a bit of hyzer on the backhand, it tends to roll more.
Pops it up.
But at this distance, it's really just, you know, whatever you're feeling in the moment. I mean, it's 163 feet. Charlie going berg there, and just perfect pace on that one. I've actually never seen someone shoot their disc like Johnny did, and he did it. He timed it perfectly.
The man's got tricks, right? He's
Yeah.
going around.
I can't believe he's at 199 wins.
Yeah, incredible. And you think about, you know, me being a little more old school, and my PDJ number is just a few hundred off of his. He's in the high 9,000s. I'm in the low 10,000s. And it was always just known, you know, it was either Ken Climo or JohnE McCray winning a tournament in Florida. That was it. You know, those are the only two people. And, you know, when Kenny had that competition, it was always JohnE McCray. You just knew as much. But Johnny didn't travel until the last, you know, 7-8 years or so. So he wasn't as known worldwide as he has been. So,
Yeah, and I think without Ken Climo being from Florida, Johnny's career might have been a bit different too.
100%.
He might have had 100 more wins already. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Yes, you know, those two were like I said, the two to battle against one another, and you know, everybody of course equates Florida disc golf with Ken Climo if you've been around long enough, but JohnE McCray has been right there with him.
yeah, nice uphill putt from Paul.
And you don't connect. We see you throwing the Nomad there, but again, still working on whatever that final putter choice is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, James Conrad is one of my closest friends out there. And I love the Nomad. I love the small bead and the feel of the plastic. So we'll see. I would definitely like to be putting with a Clash putter. And they're working on one. They just sent me a proto of a disc called the Fudge.
Okay.
Which is nice and beaded and kind of feels like a wizard. So yeah, we'll see. And this is a tough hole, Terry. 409 feet. There's OB left whole length of the hole, and then there's actually some OB right now in a little pond, and a little overturned from Paul, and just terrible kick left out of bounds. Instant bogey at best.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 inches in any direction, and that's going to ultimately be safe. It might not be a birdie look, but it would have been safe. Instead, hits the tree, opposite side of the fairway, kicks to the opposite side, and then kicks immediately out of bounds.
Oh, Snatchy McGee.
And
Got the OB over there, too.
misfire from Goodpasture finds that OB pond. This is classic JohnE McCray right here. Full commit. Doesn't matter. OB, left, right, low ceiling. That is a JohnE McCray shot if I've ever seen one, Terry.
And I think, you said it earlier when you were talking about kind of the signature shot we see out of McCray. He has somewhat of a similar approach than what you see out of Nico LaCastro, in the sense that he's not afraid to get over on something and really play a flex line. He puts a lot of trust on the Anheuser and then lets it flex back. Maybe not quite as overstable, but, I feel like there's a similarity there.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a good comparison. And that's a really nice approach from Charlie. It's a bad spot to throw your third from.
And McBeth just not even a chance to be able to save the par, with the position in which he went out of bounds at. And here you have obstruction to the point where you're looking at like almost a spiky putt. And you almost ring it up.
Yeah, just a little deep. It's pretty much the Johnny
calling to shoot it down, get it to stop on you. And he's got to work hard for it, but Goodpasture's going to pick up the bogey.
Yeah, that's a good up and down from Charlie. Really impressive. And I rolled out to another 20-footer and just what can you say, It's just not my day on the putting green, and it's obviously embarrassing, and I'm disappointed in myself, but I understand that it's not who I am.
Yeah, and I guess my question would be to that is, we had talked about possibly doing commentary. At any point, does even any of that, whether it's the coverage or commentary, does that creep into your mind as like maybe an added pressure or frustration?
It's definitely more disappointing when you perform poor on camera, but I would say at this point in my career, it's not really a factor. It almost has nothing to do with the cameras. It's just finding the right, finding the confidence and finding the breath, and it just wasn't there today. And hole 18, amazing finishing hole here. Really happy that we get to play it this year. We didn't get to play it last year because of the flooding down here in the bottom of the old quarry. And Johnny throws a pretty good shot. He's leaving himself a little bit more on the approach. You kind of want to see this one move from left to right.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're seeing the forehand setup here by McBeth. And he actually, although he only looks like he puts about 60% on it, he comes up just barely short of the OB marking, and really, I mean, maybe a little bit more to the right, but other than that, that's a near perfect tee shot. Exactly what he's trying to do, I think.
Yeah, he went with the captain's Raptor. He actually pushed that OB more than he wanted to. Charlie, perfect forehand there. The tee shot here is somewhat simple. It's the approach of 18 is the reason why. Is it playing as the hardest hole on the course?
Yeah, it is.
3/4 of a stroke over par.
Yeah, and you see a mixture of everything. I mean, it obviously can be birdied, and then you can rack up strokes here very quickly. Anything comes up short where McCray is throwing here, if this comes up short of the OB line, you're still throwing up the hill, and McCray has no problem clearing it. That, keep in mind all weekend long that roped area, so to speak, or that little perimeter up there, that's all in bounds. It's just really more of a spectator rope, and saving the best for last year on that approach.
I suppose so. And Johnny's shot was probably 375 feet, or that's probably what it plays like, 375 or 400, and mine was probably 350, and it's significantly uphill. I mean, you have to really get on it if you want to climb this hill.
Goodpasture just barely gets over the OB line. Finds himself up there with a putt for birdie, and McBeth really just feels like he's been dialed, and he's going to get to that 10 under, assuming he makes that. And what felt like it was a little bit slow at one point there for the round, then that eagle kind of got things going, and him and McCray were off to the races.
Yeah, I mean, Paul just had, he had those 2 bogeys on the front on 4 and 9, and then he was nearly perfect on the back, 1 par and then 1 bogey on the 17th with that bad kick. So really fun round to watch. I'm really happy that you were here to film it. You brought a team out here to throw down. You're doing both FPO and MPO. You stayed up all night editing this coverage right here. So got to thank you. And what beautiful putt by JohnE McCray to get to 8 under par.
Yeah, he does that as McBeth gets to 10. And, we're going to close it out. Nate, I know you're going to have 2 better rounds over rounds 2 and 3. We wish you the best of luck. And thank you for joining me here on the mic.
Yeah, it's an honor, Terry.
And with that, like, share, subscribe. Also, all the descriptions, all of our incredible sponsors like theplayersmeeting.com, along with Swarm Digital Marketing, all available in the description. Of course, go out, get yourself some Double G jerky or some Distinguished Doodle products. All of those guys are supporting this coverage. And for round number 2, we'll see McBeth, Tipton, McCray, and Barajas. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. I'll say it again. Thanks for joining. We're at Throwdown the Mountain 11, presented by Sun King. We'll see you tomorrow.